Hi guys, and welcome to my channel and welcome back. Thank you for watching. Let's just get into the story, right? So I ran across this story, the Times, Abercrombie and Fitch cryptid post that led to my investigation into a fashion empire. And this was written by Rihanna Croxford, a BBC journalist. Well, Crawford goes on to write, it was January 2021. I was holed up at home during the pandemic, scrolling through social media when I stumbled across a cryptid Instagram post. A group of male models were reflecting about how they felt abuse against men in the fashion industry was being ignored. We've seen it happen with hashtag MeToo. How about hashtag us too? One wrote. Curious, I messaged a man who had commented. His name was, he is a former model and he was writing from more than 5,000 miles away in Southern California. We had been talking about an hour when he told me he had a secret involving the man behind one of the world's biggest fashion brands. As an investigative journalist, I have worked on a lot of stories alleging this kind of misconduct, but nothing prepared me for what I was about to hear. Now, all of this is allegedly. Well, Paul said he was flown to LA to New York. They had someone come and shave me like my whole body because that's how they like the boys, he told me, the journalist. This is Rihanna, okay? It's probably like the darkest experience I ever dealt with. Paul told me that back in 2011, when he was 22, and pursuing a modeling career in Hollywood, a friend who was an older model had pressured him into being his replacement for an event with men he called the Abercrombie guys. Who were the Abercrombie guys? He told me they were Mike Jeffries, then multimillionaire, chief executive of the fashion brand Abercrombie and Fitch, and his British partner Matthew Smith. Paul also said that the duo has been throwing open events at their Parisian home in the Hamptons. He told me the one he had attended involved young men and was facilitated by chaperones in the Abercrombie polo and flip-flops, carrying silver platters of alcohol, poppers, and lube. But Paul claimed, far from being a private affair, these events were a well-oiled machine designed to prey on aspiring male models. He said that as a new man arriving there, he was presented to Jeffries as the grand prize. He was so nervous that he threw up, he told me. Preparing for the event, he said, had involved signing a non-disclosure agreement, being intimately shaved by a personal body groomer, and meeting with a mysterious middleman named Jim. The craziest part of all, he said, was that he had a missing nose cover with a snakeskin patch.
Relaxants known as poppers and Viagra at the sex events. David Bradbury, who was interviewed by the BBC as part of its years-long investigation, claims he was lured into these events.
I was made to believe, look, this is where everybody gets their start. This is where you want to get your start. It was like he was selling fame. And the price was compliance.
Instead, Bradbury says he was coerced into having sex with Jeffries.
CEO Mike Jeffries had a long history of problematic behavior, both in and out of the boardroom, before he was indicted on the several trafficking charges. Jeffries, who is 80, who left The company in 2014 is best known for his tenure with the retail brand, which became a sensation in the late 1990s and the 2000s, now before crashing under poor sales and a wave of controversies under his leadership. Well, the former head, his partner, Matthew Smith, who is 61, and their employee, James Jacobson, 71, were arrested on charges of luring men into these parties, okay, at times under the guise of modeling jobs for Abercrombie. The three are charged with trafficking and interstate prostitution involving 15 unnamed accusers using Jeffries' status with and a private staff. United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, Breon Peace, described the system as a casting couch model where men hoping to get featured in a Abercrombie ad where they then are trafficked. Now let's listen to this news report.
Abercrombie & Fitch CEO Mike Jeffries was released Tuesday on a $10 million bond after he and two others were arrested earlier in the day on sex trafficking charges. The New York indictment accuses Jeffries of using his position as CEO to lure men into sex parties on the promise of a modeling career with the company. News Nation's Caitlin Becker breaks down the indictment. Caitlin?
Well, force, fraud, and coercion. That's how the feds say former Abercrombie CEO Mike Jeffries, along with two others, allegedly lured in prospective male models and duped them into an alleged sex trafficking scheme. Prosecutors claim that between 2008 and 2015, Jeffries, his romantic partner Matthew Smith, and their recruiter James Jacobson, quote, used their money and influence to prey on vulnerable men for their own sexual gratification. Now, the 16-count indictment uncovers what authorities claim is the brutal truth behind one of the most recognizable brands during the height of their success. The three defendants are accused of promising men modeling gigs at Abercrombie and Fitch as a way to trick them into participating in, quote, sex events, where the men would be required to perform sex acts, whether they consented to them or not. The use of drugs and alcohol were said to have been used to force their compliance, behavior the U.S. attorney called, quote, abhorrent. Jeffries served as CEO of Abercrombie from 1992 to 2014 and was responsible for crafting that glossy, sun-kissed version of the brand that became known for excluding any body types that just didn't fit the mold. Now, the brand was used as a tactic to allegedly lure in these victims, but the U.S. attorney was clear that authorities don't believe the company was aware that anything nefarious was going on.
We don't allege in the indictment that the resources of Abercrombie and Fitch were used in furtherance of this criminal activity. But what we do allege and acknowledge is that the fact that Michael Jeffries was CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch was utilized, and the potential of an opportunity at Abercrombie to be in an ad or things like that were some of the carrots that I think people perceived as what they would achieve by participating in this activity.
Now, 15 John Does are listed in the indictment. However, court documents reveal that there are dozens of alleged victims. All three defendants were arrested on Tuesday morning, and they're going to be arraigned here in New York at a later date. Now, the investigation into this case is ongoing, and the U.S. attorney is encouraging anyone who believes that they were victimized by these three to come forward.
When Jeffries became CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch in 1992 and immediately got to rebrand the company from a struggling retailer of hunting apparel to a seller of must-have teen clothing. Now, I say this because at this time, when Abercrombie & Fitch, they started featuring what many would call highly sexualized images of young models. Now, what has been revealed in today's society is evidence to what sells merchandise. Now, this quote-unquote casting couch practices has been in existence for years and within all industries in society. And it is not going anywhere, not at least at this level, and as long as there are millions who aspire to be famous and rich. So therefore, accountability is needed for those who are taken advantage of, or who take advantage of people in these manners of trafficking. Although some are of age, reports say that they were under the influence, which argues consent. Now, I ain't no lawyer, I'm just saying be careful out there. These practices exist in every sector of society. You have to ask yourself, what are you willing to do to achieve your goal? It is okay to set boundaries and trust your instinct when things don't feel right. It is so sad to hear of stories like this, shattering young people's dreams, so you are either the predator or prey. Do you notice that all of the predators have the same manner of operation? Please delightfully leave your comment below. Please like if you enjoyed this content and don't forget to subscribe to hear more. Bye for now.